Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 1st, 2011 Select Board meeting. Would you please stand with me? Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with public participation. Hearing none, we'll move right on to the approval of the minutes. July 11th.
One comment. Change GERD to grid. GERD is a word that basically didn't show up on your spell check.
Yeah, okay.
It's on page 7 of 8, the second paragraph from the bottom.
Everybody okay with the minutes of the 11th?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Siddall.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 11th, 2011, with the one correction by Mr. Ball.
Second.
Any discussion? Motion was made to accept the minutes with the one correction of July 11th, 2011. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Everyone okay with July 18th? Go ahead, your turn.
Oh, my turn? Okay. I move that we accept the minutes from July 18th, 2011 as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Motion's been made to accept the minutes of July 18th as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. We're moving on to Chairman's remarks. I'd like to make one remark first before I get started. I do have something that I've written down because I'm not very well at public speaking, so I had to write it down. But if anybody has not signed the guest book, please do so because Katrina doesn't know everybody from town. Thank you. At this time, the Select Board would like to send condolences to the Walter Saluzny's family. Walt was a select... Excuse me?
Sorry. Nothing.
Walt was a select board member for approximately 34 years, serving as chairman for most of them. While serving on the board, the town offices, the recreation area, the town garage were built. He also worked very hard on the preservation of farmland here in Vernon. Walt also served on many committees for many years. He was on the War Memorial Committee, Conservation Committee, Vernon Historians, Vernon Seniors, a volunteer fireman, and a chartered member of the Vernon Fire Department, and he served as fire warden, just to name a few. Today I received a note from somebody in the community that shared with me something that Walt had said to her once. He said, don't you dare complain unless you're willing to help fix it. That was Walt's way, always being a part of the solution. Walter was a pillar in our community with a long history of giving of himself and always at the ready to serve this town and the people who lived here. Walter was a very kind and giving man who will be sorely missed by all who knew him. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I ask that we have a moment of silence in respect of Mr. Zaluzny.
Thank you all. Moving on. Town clerk.
The cemetery deed here for James and Wendy Parker. It's for lot 394, Site C in Tyler Cemetery.
Say that again.
Lot 394, Site C.
No name. We don't need a name,
Oh.
do we?
You know, but it's James and Wendy Parker.
We don't need that, do we?
No.
I missed the number. Do you have the number?
394.
394, Site C.
And they're selling it or buying it?
They're buying it.
Okay. So the motion would be is I move that we approve the transfer of lot 39, sign and approve and sign the transfer of lot 394 site Charlie to and
James and Wendy Parker.
James and Wendy Parker.
Second.
Motion's been made to sign and approve the transfer of lot 394, Site C, to James and Wendy Parker. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Can I request a short, very short executive session on a personal matter, please? I'd like to have Sally here.
Is the board okay with that?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. McDonald.
I move that we go into executive session with Sandy and Sally on a personnel matter, the disclosure of which at this time might be detrimental to the town and/or individuals involved.
Second.
Motion's been made to go into executive session with Sandy Harris and Sally Brassor on a personnel matter, the disclosure of which at this time might be detrimental to the town and/or individuals involved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed. That's for Sandy. This one right here? I can't stop thinking, sorry everybody, am I doing it right? It didn't make sense.
Are you going to
Here.
hear the camera?
The thing is, you were talking about
I don't even know what time we went in, but it is now 7:04.
You're very quiet.
Does anybody know what time we went in? Oh, Katrina will. What time did we go in, Katrina? Oh,
I just wanted to double check. I do.
you tell me what time we went in, please.
I will. Yeah, give me a second. I had saved it.
All those that haven't, please sign in.
We went in at 6:42.
We went into executive session at 6:42, came out at 7:04. No decisions were made.
Madam Chair,
Ms. O'Donnell?
I'd like to make the motion that we give Sandy permission to hire on a temporary part-time basis someone to fill the need she has until Susan comes back from, I almost said maternity leave.
Oh, jeepers.
What is it?
Really long.
Dad.
From at $10.50 an hour.
Second.
Motion's been made to allow Sandy to hire a temporary part-time person until Susan comes back. Yeah, at $10.50 an hour. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Three ayes.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
I
You
made the motion, Mike seconded
Mike
it.
seconded.
Mike Ball seconded.
Motion carried. All right, moving on. Treasurer. Just Patty has, I'll do it after you.
Nice to see the neighborhoods out here.
Those have 3.
Reagan, it's nice to see you here getting a civic lesson. Welcome to the select board.
I have 3. Plus Bobby wants to look at it.
It's just payroll.
Okay.
It is what it is. Madam Chairman,
Mr.
I
Miller.
move that we pay warrants 3 SG accounts payable $26,882.36. 29S payroll $15,867.97. 30S payroll $16,301.09.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay warrants 3SG, accounts payable $26,882.36. 29S, payroll $15,867.97. 30S, payroll $16,301.09. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Just one thing I wanted to bring up. As you know, when David Andrews resigned as fire chief, he did turn in his town credit card. And I'm wondering if you're going to issue Todd a credit card.
What is going
Shall
to
I
change?
move the name on the card? Everyone had to have a card, and whoever signed had the name is on the card. So I'm going to have to get a new one for Todd in his name if you approve that.
Right.
And the amount was $10,000.
But that's not what I meant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I meant what would have changed from one chief to the other chief as far as fiscal responsibility?
Nothing, but I think that I need to come and ask. I'm just not gonna issue the cards myself.
Dave is not going to be the person that does the ordering. It is going to be Todd. Is that what's...
David, I believe, is finishing up the final projects that he was working on,
Mhm.
and then Todd will be doing the new year. And I think he's probably, hasn't he assigned you something, Mike?
He, as the head of services, that I have signature authority to buy medical equipment, underneath the
So he
budget.
could give you the card.
And the way I was going to do it was just, I have some stuff that's going to be delivered, and then we'll just pay it.
What about the 90-day probationary period? I mean, if we change a credit card over to his name and it's a 90-day probationary period and things don't work out, what happens?
I'd have to take the card back and.
Just like anybody.
Mhm.
But is it customary to give a credit card when there's still a 90-day probationary period, I guess is my question.
That's a good question. We've only started giving out cards. We've only had them for about 6 months. So we have no policy on that.
But at the same time, we immediately gave David one
I'm
when
not
he
asking
became
about
chief.
that.
No, I know.
wasn't
but
here then. So, for a long time, we went without credit cards.
Mhm.
So why can't we go without a credit card until the probationary period's over?
Well, we can. The issue for me was that I was the purchaser. So David was sending me items that he wanted, and I would have to go online and purchase them with the town credit card, which became burdensome for me, really, with all the other responsibilities. It's really better if the fire department orders what they need themselves. I don't even understand some of the things that I was ordering.
Pleasure of the board.
I move that we reissue the card.
In
We do
Todd
have a
Capen's
policy
name?
In
now
Todd
that
Capen's
goes with
name.
the card and a signature, and there's some pretty hefty rules. that they
Motion's
need to
been made. Do
follow.
I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made to issue a card, reissue the card in Todd Capen's name. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
You ayed or nayed?
Or nay? I
Okay.
oppose.
Oh,
Got confusing there.
it did.
That's it for me.
Yep, thank you very, very much. And thank you, Sandy, by the way, if we didn't thank you already. Okay, discussion on the Tyler Cemetery fence. Apparently, we received a letter from the Barbara Mosley and the Vernon historians stating that they would like to see it remain as a picket fence, but then we had also received a suggestion of maybe doing a granite fence with metal things. However, I have to say that on Saturday morning, I went over to the Tyler Cemetery fence because of a phone call that I received. And the fence has been vandalized. Yeah, I have all kinds of copies myself. I have pictures. So I called in the police immediately. And I've seen it too. Has anybody seen that fence since then, since Saturday? So I called in the police, and I talked to Mary Beth today. She said it is now a criminal investigation. Whether you want to move on it now or hold on, it's up to the select board.
Oh,
Should we go forward
with the criminal investigation?
No, that's going forward.
Okay, good.
But no, I mean, but they're here. I'd like to hear their...
Well, I guess my concern is that the board appoints people to basically work as our representatives. They're the first stops. People that have concerns within the community, whether it's the fire department or the police department or the cemetery commission or committee, whatever it happens to be, the planning commission, whatever it happens to be, the first stop should be the representatives of the board. If after trying to basically negotiate and to have a discussion and come to consensus, if that falls short, then the select board should be getting involved. Because if you don't do that, it starts to take away the power of the people who we've put into place to function. So my only question before we hear any more about this would be have the people that have the comments or the suggestions or the concerns gone to the cemetery committee to talk about that?
Have they come to the cemetery committee?
Yeah.
No.
Then I would recommend that we not hear the concerns tonight, and that those individuals come to a cemetery committee meeting, talk about that, and come to consensus there. If people cannot come to consensus at that level, then they would come to the board.
I can actually speak to it, Mike, because I was the one who had brought up, and it wasn't a problem, it was a suggestion. The reason I came to the select board is it was already out to bid. I didn't know it was going out to bid, never heard anything about it, opened a Saturday paper, there it is. So, happened to work with one of the people on the board, and happened to talk to one of the other members after, so, you know, talking to them, and I made clear to both of them that this isn't from the finance committee, we haven't discussed this isn't anything official, but me as a townsperson, do we want to spend $10,000 or $15,000 every 5 or 10 years, 10 or 15 years, or has anybody thought about putting granite posts in, because the ones at the North Cemetery have been since I've been alive and have never been replaced. So you might want to look into this, and then left it at that. It wasn't really a big concern, it was already out to bid. I figure if it's already out to bid, it's out of the cemetery committee's hands at that point.
Well,
It's in the
actually,
select board's hands.
it went back into their hands. So right now, it's not out for bid. So at this point is that it would, I believe, am I correct, that it went back to the cemetery committee's
No,
hands?
Just no, it came to tonight.
Yeah.
yeah.
For the bidding process?
What happened is, we had a bid process to begin with. Then the meeting was held not in the right way, and it wasn't warned. Illegal meeting, we had to redo it. We've redone it, stating that it was to be a white picket fence. But this is as far as we've gotten right here.
And then the last meeting
Yep.
to this meeting, because
There was a suggestion for
suggestion.
saving money.
I have done some research into that, and to put a fence, as at the North Cemetery, would cost more than the $50,000 that's even in the capital plan now. We would also be facing repair and possible replacement of headstones that are now protected by that fence, that are right on the other side. Those need to come into consideration. I think we figured that fence now is about 30 years old. I figured
Yes.
somewhere in that neighborhood, it's about 30 years old now. The fence that's there. And was billed as pressure treated and is not, except for the post probably.
I went and looked at the fence.
I don't know, did you want to read Mrs. Mosley's letter? She
Um,
wanted it read into.
I have a select board that would like to say something. Excuse me.
I went and looked at the fence. A lot of the pickets have been replaced in that fence.
They have.
And the fence, if it's going to stay as a picket fence, could be moved a couple feet back for most of the fence to get it away from the road. But why was the road moved 3 feet?
That I can't tell you. That I don't know, because it was not moved when I was treasurer, so it had to have been after the 1995-96 when it was moved. Was there a reason for it, Sandy? No reason.
All that I've been able to find out is that when they laid it down, instead of allowing that to be separate, they kept it together, so they just widened the road. But the road should go back where it belongs. I mean, for 50-some-odd years, we didn't have this problem.
I just want you to understand what we're talking about is that we've had a continuous problem for the last few years of the snowplow knocking the fence down, knocking the pickets down, and so on and so forth. It is a wood fence, and it's going to continuously be like this. We've asked the highway commissioner to please put up a snow fence, but he assures us that it would not do any good. It would not protect the fence. But yet now we have the dilemma of Mr. Lee Jenks. He's right there. There's no room. I even looked on Saturday morning when I was over there.
I looked at it, and I don't think the road has been moved down by
By Lee Drains, yeah.
Because you can see where the road used to be,
Oh, yes, you
You
can.
can still see
You
that.
definitely can, yep.
where the old pavement is under the dirt.
Yeah, because it kind of went out like this,
Well, it's
sort of.
been moved
Yeah.
3 feet,
Yeah,
but it's up north of Lee Jenks's.
right, it's between Greaves, and, yeah. And that, yeah. And that's where the big damage usually is too.
But the fence could be moved right there. You know,
I have some graves really close to
Yeah.
that fence. The stone might not be, but the grave is.
Mhm.
And we have reserved a half a grave at one spot because it was too close. But still, the graves are really close to the fence, certain ones.
Peggy, did you have something you'd like to say?
I just wanted to agree that I had observed the cemetery, looked at it, and agreed that some of those markers are very close to the fence. One looks to be
They are
within
very close.
a foot or so, and that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. I don't understand what has all come before with it going out for bid twice, and what did it go out to bid for? A picket fence or
Picket
state-
fence.
A picket fence.
It did.
Okay. I wanted to get that clear in my mind.
Nope, it did.
There were problems with the process, that's why it went out to
Yes.
bid the second
Okay.
time.
All right. And then polling our trustee members, there's 9 of us all together, and the consensus was it would be nice if we could, in any possible way, to keep it a picket fence.
Mhm.
But we understand that there is problems, but I guess there's going to be problems no matter what kind of fence is there.
Well, not necessarily,
Right.
and that's, the reason is that if you turn around, if the snow removal process pushes the snow into the fence, it will always cause damage. If the snow removal in that area, in order to preserve the fence, is that it basically is pushed forward and then put to the side, it takes more work in that short area, but at the same time as you wouldn't be damaging the fence all the time. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
You can do that, you can push forward, and then we're,
It would require a front end loader.
but where would you put it?
You put it wherever else you want to put it, to the
Probably
side of the
have to
road.
use the grader and push the snow the other direction.
Yeah, and just
Oh, yeah,
basically
yeah.
capture it and then push it down.
So put the road back where it was.
Well, I'm
And
not
that
even
would take
sure-
work too.
I'm not even sure that on a winter like we had would even work, because we had so much snow, even putting it back to where it was, is still going to move snow over towards the fence.
Sandy?
If the lines, I don't know how you put the road back unless you, because it was blacktopped over there. If you put the lines out where it should have been, and then David just plowed on the lines, would that not alleviate some of this problem? I know David slows way down going by there, I don't think he'd go much slower without shoveling it. But if he came over further, would that not?
Well, we could work that kind of problem out at another time, but I think that, Mike and Bobby had a good idea of maybe just using the grader and pushing it off to the other
Well,
side instead of,
He's the road commissioner.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is say,
to
listen,
him,
the
that's
fence
right.
has been getting damaged. You
We
need to
have
change
spoke to
how
him.
you're doing it and figure out a way to do it so you don't damage the fence anymore.
yeah. We spoke to him several times.
I just want to say, first of all, I thank everybody for coming here tonight.
Yes.
And I understand what you're saying, Mike, but I never want any person in this town, whether they serve on a committee or don't serve on a committee, to feel like they can't come in front of the select board with a suggestion. And that's really how this all started, was by a very innocent suggestion to the select board. The process had already started underway, so we discussed at the meeting, let's hold things and hear what people had to say. And we encourage people to come to the select board meeting all the time with their issues. And, all of you folks all have very busy schedules, and I know you
Yes,
have
we
other
do.
things to be doing, and I really appreciate your coming here. We ran for these positions, and it's our job to listen to anyone who wants to come in front of this board, so thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Anybody have anything else?
I think at this point, Peggy, and I'm not speaking for the board, but I think with the criminal investigation going on right now, it's kind of put things to a halt anyway. So it certainly gives the cemetery committee a little bit more time to look at the issue And maybe Sheldon, you know, you can talk to them about how you think things should go, but I don't think we can do anything at this point until the criminal investigation is done.
Well, just to be clear, I mean, it wasn't against the picket fence.
Right.
It was just, you know, as I said, I know, Bobby talked about it. He said, if it's 10 grand for that and it's going to last 50, you know, because I can remember them replacing a whole mess of stuff about 12 or 15 years ago, and I know you had a lot to do with it.
I
a
did.
lot of the painting. and
It
stuff.
was just 3 years ago.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Time flies.
Hour after hour, painting that fence.
Right.
But,
Yes.
you know, I know we've done a lot of work to it and a lot of upkeep to it. In the North Cemetery, as far as upkeep to that fence, you know, me and Bobby talked about it. We could remember one thing, and that was because of a car hitting it at 40 miles an hour or whatever. And, you know, even if it costs twice as much, if it lasts 50 or 100 years, you know, maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not.
And it's our job at this point to turn over every rock and find every nickel we can to save for the town. So
Absolutely.
I have two ahead of you, okay? I'll come right back to you, Linda, I promise. Go ahead, Sandy.
The beauty of North Cemetery is look how far from the road it is.
Well, that's how far Tyler Cemetery used to be.
Down.
Right.
The salt is what destroys it.
Yep.
And if you do remember, a lot of those pickets that we did replace, yes, were not pressure-treated ones that we
Right.
replaced too.
Linda, please.
If you're, when the snow is being plowed by the North Cemetery, because it's just posts and rail, the snow has a place to go.
You go through it.
It's not, it goes through it. It doesn't
that
go
far.
to it.
Doesn't go
Well, it
that
doesn't go that far, but if it did,
But it would.
It would not, it would go through it. So
Uphill.
that's
Yeah.
something else to consider. I mean, to change the road back to where it was, because I know when I was on the board, we talked about changing the road about back to where it was because the fence was being damaged. That will also cost money to move the road back to where it was. So right now, when we are looking at trying to preserve money, so if the eventuality of VY goes through the way the state would like it to go, then, you know, we're all going to be hoping that everybody's going to preserve every cent.
Could I make a suggestion that the cemetery committee and the finance committee maybe get together, because we're going to have to probably put this on hold for a little bit anyway, and maybe look at all options, and then and invite the historians so that they can, but we'll meet together, because we have asked you as the finance committee to help us with the finances and stuff like that. So I think that would be a good thing to do.
One other thing, if I can just bring it up.
Sure.
is If we can make sure that the finance committee gets involved before the bid process.
Yes, that's
Absolutely. When the bid process
You know-
goes forward. It's so much harder to go back and try
Yeah.
to fix it after the fact, or at least discuss things after the fact than before.
Well-
I mean, we went through as the finance committee, it was as a white picket fence, the way it was, and that was just a suggestion, you know, that I had brought up, and I know me and Mary Lynn had talked about it a couple of years ago, you know, when we were first got on the finance committee of there could be different options, but I haven't looked into any costs or anything like that. I assume that the granite one would probably be more expensive. The question is, you know, how much
long
more.
would it last?
Far more.
Well, forgive the cemetery committee for not going to the finance committee first. Is that what we need to do? That everybody needs to go to the finance before they put it out?
I think if it
first,
goes to the
or-
capital
I mean,
plan,
I've
it's
never
not
done that
about the
before, so-
cemetery committee going to the finance committee per se. If they want to, by all means. I don't think we would ever say no.
Yeah.
But I think it's just that if they're coming in and they're going on for a bid for a capital plan purchase, is that the finance committee is at least invited to that select board meeting so that, you know, at least it bids in.
It was
because-
the cemetery committee that initiated the procedure of putting it out to
so
bid. It wasn't the select board.
Basically is, for example, you know, not to pick on anybody, but if any department comes in and says, you know, this is what I want to buy, it's good to have the finance committee here. This is what we were planning. Yes, that is what we, you know, that's what we spec'd out. That's what you told us 2 years ago when we put it in the capital plan. That's what, you know. Yes, that's we agree. That's what it is. So we should have enough money for it. You know, because it just makes sure that what we're actually purchasing and planning on in the capital plan is what we're actually going ahead and purchasing and planning.
Well-
In this case, it was, but
It is a capital plan item,
Yeah.
yes. I believe it's 50,000, but I'm not sure.
yeah, there was $50,000 in there.
We were looking
Sorry?
at.
You know if it says that in the bid policy?
I don't know.
That
No, it
should
doesn't.
go
Something
before
to-
the-
No, it does not.
It does not, but
No, it does not.
we're in a little different situation right now
Right.
than we've ever been.
That's right.
So, I would suggest that any major purchases, not only go through the finance committee to make sure the specs are what was agreed upon 5, 10 years ago when they started the discussion about saving for these issues, but in that time that has progressed while the saving's been done, is there maybe another option that may be cheaper in the long run? So,
That's
we have
fine,
to
so
start
we
looking.
try to do that
Right.
on a yearly basis, but right.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Are you reading Barbara's letter into the minutes that she asked?
Excuse me?
I heard that Barbara wanted to have her minutes read. Letter?
Her letter written? I mean,
Letter
read?
read, yeah.
I don't, oh, yeah, do I have it? No, I don't think I have
You
it.
want me to? I have a copy.
Maybe I do have it, I'm not sure.
I have it on my computer.
Yeah, I thought I brought it, but yes, I do have it.
I did not get it.
You can have mine, okay? Barbara's letter is as follows. Dear Vernon Selectboard, thank you for considering this letter regarding the future of the picket fence at the Tyler Cemetery. It expresses my personal concern and also has the support of the trustees of the Vernon Historians Incorporated. White picket fences are traditional cemetery enclosures throughout New England. From family records, I know that the Tyler Cemetery has had such a fence for 171 years. However, it would be safe to assume it was it was probably put in place even earlier when the cemetery was laid out in 1796. At that time, it would have enclosed the entire, much smaller, burying ground. The cemetery has grown over the years, of course, and the fence has been reduced to its present but still impressive roadside length. The fence is a landmark and distinguishes Tyler Cemetery from all others in town. 5 generations of my family are buried there. When I visit their graves, I truly appreciate the sense of seclusion and privacy of the fence that the fence offers. More veterans are laid to rest there than any other Vernon cemetery. This year, our nation begins its 4th year commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. At that time, 10% of Vernon's population answered the call. However, even more than 10% of that number lost their lives. Among the casualties were the 3 Sweetland brothers, whose names are all recorded on one marker in the Tyler Cemetery. That remarkable sacrifice alone would, it seems to me, make it worthy for us to honor them by maintaining the picket fence they would have known when they went off to war, never to return. As you can sense, I care deeply about this matter. At my age, I see the situation as an opportunity to set a needed example of honor and respect in a time when our society tends to show little of either. Thank you, Barbara Mosley. Thank you, Barbara.
Actually, I already gave her mine.
Oh, you did.
Give them mine. Yeah, thank you.
If you want mine, you can have it.
No, I still have it.
If there's no more discussion, and that's what we've agreed upon, we're going to wait, see what happens. We're going to move on. Thank you all very, very much for coming.
And thank you for all you do for the town.
And thank you for all you do for the town, absolutely, definitely.
Bye, Reagan.
Bye,
Thank you
Reagan.
for coming to our meeting.
Under unfinished business, there is one thing that we were supposed to do that we did not do when we were doing the job descriptions, was equipment operator and mechanic job description. We never accepted them. Do we need to do that, or do
Never
you want to
approved
do?
it. You approved the road commissioner.
Yes.
You didn't make any changes, I don't think, to the...
No, we did. I thought we changed the weight. It says in the...
The
Oh,
weight.
you did, you changed the weight, yes, but there was no actual motion that was made. You did the road commissioner and you did
Van driver.
the bus driver.
Right.
But you talked about this and no motion was actually made on the equipment operator mechanic.
I'm going to accept the job
Changes.
descriptions for the operator and operator mechanic
With the corrections.
with the corrections that we made.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to accept the job descriptions for the equipment and mechanic. Equipment operator, I'm sorry, and mechanic. With corrections, excuse me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And also, I wasn't sure if there was one more thing. Nothing under old business. Does anybody else have anything under old business? No? I have one kinda under sort of new. I'd like to make an announcement that the funeral for Walter Zaluzny, in case anybody doesn't know, will be Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the chapel, and tomorrow night from 7 to 9 at the Atomic for calling hours. And that's all that I've been given, except for, Katrina, remember I was supposed to get you these? What happened was I wasn't sure who the appointments, I wasn't sure who I had talked to. I wasn't sure if it was in between Elaine and Carol, or did I give them to Elaine to do before she left? And it was in between Carol and Elaine. So I had asked Sandy to do it. So these are not correct, but I think that it should be an agenda item for next time to go over this appointment thing and update them, make sure that we are correct. And she could not find my copy as who was the liaison, so we don't have that, so perhaps we should go over that. Maybe
Well, we can also take a look at in our files for the people that were there, and if they have it, then scan. If I have it, I'll scan it and send it out.
Okay. So why don't you just give it to her what you have, and then you can update this? I will send you my PDF, because that way you don't have to. Excel, yes, you're right, I'm sorry. And that way you don't have to retype it over, okay? And that, I believe, I'm sorry?
Speaking, getting very quiet.
Okay.
And it's ironic that we're speaking about Walter Zaluzny tonight, because his name is on this. But I did some research, because some issues have been bothering me since I've been on the select board. 21 years ago, on November 1st, 1990, the select board wrote a policy about conflict of interest. And it states, when a potential conflict of interest arises during a bid process and/or a subject of potential conflict in which an elected official or an appointed individual has a direct or indirect financial interest, or any direct, indirect personal interest, whether from blood or marriage relationship or close business or potential association, the individual will remove himself, herself from the meeting while the matter is discussed or acted upon. The individual will resume active participation in the meeting when the matter of possible conflict of interest is resolved. This policy revises and supersedes policy of conflict of interest adopted on April 6, 1989, and is implemented forthwith as a preventive measure to avoid potential inference of conflict of interest, signed by the Board of Selectmen, Town of Vernon, November 1st, 1990, and it's signed Walter Zaluzny, Donald Holland, Janet Denon, Lawrence Shippey, and Peter Skibnowski. I would like this to
Can I ask them, I'm sorry to interrupt, I need to ask them to move away from the door. Katrina, could you do that?
Yes.
Thank you. I can't do the, in here too.
Now, is there one of later edition in the town hall?
I don't think so. I haven't been able to find one, but even if there is, I certainly would like this copied and sent to every committee. if there's a bid process going on, or there's an issue being discussed in any committee, ours or any committee that anyone in this town is serving, and they have a
Thank you.
relative or a personal interest in that issue, you have to refrain yourself from voting.
Right.
You have to refrain yourself from conversation. And I'm concerned that we may be crossing that line a little bit. So I would like this copied and sent to all of the committees that serve for the town.
Could I, it should be the latest one that gets sent?
That is the
I
latest one.
think this is the latest
No,
one.
I'm just saying, is if you double check with Sandy, and if whatever is the latest one, I would wholeheartedly support
Okay.
that.
I think that is the
I
latest
do
one,
too.
because I took it right from the, well, I didn't, I mean, it comes right from the personnel policy, and that's the only one in there. Not personnel policy.
The book of policies.
Yes, policies and procedures, yes.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make that motion,
Second.
Can you
yes.
make the motion again so I can?
I would like to make the motion that this conflict of interest policy be copied and sent to every committee that serves for the town, and also put in the minutes for the
And
select
the
board
departments.
and the departments.
Seconded by Mike Ball. Motion's been made, like she said. I'm not going to go every word by word on that one.
And Katrina, if you have a few minutes, you might have Sandy check, but I'm 99% positive this is it's the last one I could find. So, and I didn't want to ask Sandy because I didn't want to involve anybody else in
Yeah,
it.
that's
but
fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, motion carried. That brings us to a point where I've been in close contact with Secretary of State about this very issue. And he suggests that we do a new policy and a nepotism policy. So perhaps that could be maybe on the next agenda or a future agenda. I'd like to see that done as soon as possible.
Anybody who puts in a bid should have a fair shot at the bid, but
Mhm.
anybody who puts in a bid should have a fair shot at the bid. And it's not only the bids, it's the issues that are talked about in select board and in committees.
Mhm.
If you have a personal connection to that, you need to refrain yourself from the discussion.
With nothing else,
You guys know I'm going to be going next meeting.
You want to pass this?
oh, you are? I
Yep.
didn't.
Pass it down.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
Oh,
media.
I'm sorry. I withdraw my motion.
So at this point, the Tyler Hill Cemetery is going to be, discussions have been put on hold while the police conduct their investigation for the vandalism that happened last weekend. The cemetery and finance committees are going to be meeting to discuss the best options on whether or not to keep it as a picket fence or put in some sort of granite posts.
That was a suggestion.
That was
The
the
bid
suggestion.
process is put on hold.
The bid,
The
yes.
discussion can continue.
Yes.
It's not Tyler. All right, it's just Tyler.
It's called the Tyler Cemetery,
Tyler.
not
It's
Tyler
not on
Hill.
Tyler
I'm
Hill.
sorry, I didn't even catch that. Thank you.
It's Tyler or Sunrise?
No, it's Tyler Cemetery fence.
Where's it?
I'm
Sunrise.
Where?
What it said, it's right on the sign. It says Tyler, and underneath Sunrise or whatever.
I don't think
Sign.
so. I don't know. Me? I don't know. Did I get a picture of that when I took my pictures? I don't know.
No.
No, I didn't. But anything else, Chris?
I'm set, thank you.
Okay, motion on the table.
All right, so moved.
Second?
Second?
You can't second.
Oh, I can't.
Take
All
a
those
vote.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries, everyone.
She's on this.
Yes.
Thank you all for being so good